All right, welcome everyone to Two Generations, One Mic. One half of the podcast. I'm RJ, and this is my co-host.
Tony Newsom, other half of, what is it, One Mic, Two Generations?
Two Generations, One
Two
Mic.
Generations, One Mic. I'm going to get it right sooner or later.
Yeah, as they will see, we two different generations. We got old man here who will probably be going in and out of his memory as we speak.
Whatever.
So basically, Tony, how did we get here? What even brought up the idea of doing a podcast?
Think about it, I don't think it was either of our idea. It didn't come to me, it didn't come to you. I think it was just due to the chemistry that we have. And I hate to give her props on this, but a friend of ours named Daniela said, hey, why don't you guys do a podcast? And Isabella as well.
Yeah.
So we had several people that mentioned, hey, why don't you guys do a podcast? And from there, we are here.
Yeah. It was really a good idea. We are always joking around when we're together, making jokes, cracking jokes on one another. So I think a lot of people would find it interesting.
Is that what we do? I thought I was.
Oh, you were serious? Okay. Well, sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's jokes, depending on what it is. But I thought it was a great idea. We both thought it was a great idea, and it brought us here. Everyone else is doing podcasts, talking about things, and we think we can bring something to the table for people to get something out of it.
Absolutely.
So first question, and the podcast will kind of be more or less about different things, everyday things, more from two generations, right? Tony was born in the 60s. I was born in the 90s. We're both married with kids. So our dynamic as fathers, as husbands, and just everyday men in the world, giving our perspectives on things. Sometimes it'll be more of a debate. Sometimes it'll just be a discussion. But I really think that this will be rather entertaining.
Yeah, we hope so anyway, but we do understand that even though that some of our dynamics are similar, our viewpoints will vary.
Yeah.
And that's what brought us to this point, to do this podcast. We felt that, we had some great points to share, and we're hoping that there's an audience out there that's willing to listen.
Right. And if not, hey,
we're still having a good time either way.
We're going to crack jokes and make it roll anyway.
Either way. It doesn't matter. We're going to have a good time.
So, Tony, just to kind of give our viewers a little background on us, talk about your childhood, some of your family values, discipline, the community that raised you to be the man that you are today.
Okay. Originally, I am from Jacksonville, Florida. I moved to Texas around the age of 11 or 12. And so growing up there, not too far from the beach, big beach town, moving into East Texas, props out to Tyler, Texas. Growing up in East Texas, man, was a major culture shock for me at first. But, man, I loved it. I wouldn't have traded it for anything in the world.
Yeah. Was Florida in that time, because when I think of Florida, I know Miami, I know Destin, how was Florida compared to Texas in your childhood? Was there because I know East Texas is not very populated compared to Dallas, even though there's a city in Tyler, us Dallas folks think of Tyler and we think automatically that's the country.
Well, first of all, I'm offended by saying there's a city in Tyler, because Tyler is a city.
Okay, well, what I mean by urban area, it's urban or rural.
Right. Most people would consider it rural, but really it's not. Granted, we have rural areas of Tyler. I love growing up in Tyler. We had certain areas you had Swan, that was a rural area out there, and you have several others where you have some family that grew up. What was the name of that area?
I don't know. I ain't from
know.
there.
You know. Go ahead. Don't even play.
The Shady Grove area.
Shady Grove. Yeah, you know, I had some good friends out of Shady Grove. Shady Grove area, you know, of Tyler. But, you know, man, I loved it. To me, you know, Tyler was like, it wasn't a Dallas or anything of that nature, but Tyler was a great city,
Yeah.
you know, to grow up in. You got your, you know, if we wanted to come to Dallas, and I had relatives in Dallas, and Dallas was just maybe an hour and a half away. So we go on the highway, come to Dallas, you know, go back to Tyler, you know, with no issues. But to answer your question, I grew up, or my time in Florida was when segregation was just, or desegregation was just being put in place. So I ended up going to San Pablo Elementary, right, which was a greater distance from me when there was an elementary school right down the street from my house, right? Matter of fact, right behind my grandmother's house where I spend a lot of my time. And so we were being bused to a school that's probably anywhere between 5 to maybe even 10 miles away. You know, it's a great distance from our home. So, you know, and then kind of being at a school where, you know, they just implementing desegregation, you know, that wasn't a great time.
Right. You wasn't welcome.
Yes.
Or at least you didn't feel welcome.
Right, didn't feel welcome.
Right.
So, and then moving from there to Tyler, you know, it was, I guess, basically the same thing. You know, there were elementary schools that were in our area, but based on where we lived, they were being shipped to Birdwell Elementary.
You said Birdwell Elementary. So for people who don't know, desegregation, we're saying you were in an all-black school, and now you were going to a school where it was segregated.
Right. Where it was a school of diversity.
There you go.
In all actuality.
In your school before
was all black.
No other
kids are black. You may have a couple other races that were there that lived in that neighborhood, but for the most part, it was black. You know?
And this is, how old were you at the time?
I guess from preschool up until about the age of 11 or 12.
So 11 or 12 was like the first time you seen anybody outside of being black?
No. So as far as really interacting with them in school, maybe yes.
Yeah. But you've seen them but never really had friends or...
Well, at that time, man, you knew where to go, you knew where not to go. You know, you go into the grocery stores, you know, you got the grocery stores that are owned by a certain group of people, you know. You go in, you do your business, you leave this grocery store, this is where you go, this is where you don't go. You go to this area, these areas you don't go to. You know, that's just how it was back then, just the way it was, and you knew.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, see, that's kind of like a folklore for me. I've never seen or actually been somewhere where it was like, hey, you're not really welcome. Maybe you may feel like it, you may get a couple eyes and things like that, but to actually, like, hey, what are you doing here?
Right, yeah. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there several times.
Yeah. So, for me, I was born in Patuxent River, Maryland. My dad was in the Navy at the time. So I think if my dad ever viewed this, I hope I got it right. I think about 1 or 2 is when I came to Dallas, when I was about 1 or 2 years old.
Okay. Was your dad still in the military then?
No. Once we moved back, he was done.
Okay.
Both of my parents are from Dallas. They graduated from W.T. White. Grew up in the Dallas area. So we came back to Dallas. We lived in Oak Cliff for a little bit. And then when my parents separated, I went back and forth with my mom and dad. My dad ended up living in North Dallas and then moving to Irving. Mom ended up relocating and going to Mesquite. So for the most of my childhood, it was Irving. Then I went to Mesquite, Garland for a little bit, South Dallas for a little bit. Then we went back to Irving. Then I stayed a little bit in DeSoto, back to Irvin,
Right.
but for the most part, I would say Irvin is home. That's
Okay.
where I call home, anyways.
Good. Good deal. What high school?
Irvin Nimitz,
Okay.
class of 2010, the
Class.
Vikings.
Boy, you still wet behind me.
Yeah, it was kind of weird going back, man, seeing some of the changes. And to me, I feel a lot older, but
Right.
you know, when me and you are
Right.
talking, it was
Right.
like, hey, okay, hey, it ain't that big of a
Right.
deal.
Well, question. You asked me about the dynamics of my school. What was the racial makeup of your school?
Man, Irvin was very diverse for me coming up.
Okay.
Some of my best friends still to this day. I have a group of different friends.
Right.
I have whites, blacks, but for the most part, you would say most of my friends are Hispanic. Irvin is primarily a Hispanic city or a town, especially now. Now, I would say it's probably 80%, 75, 80% Hispanic. Me, probably back when I was there, probably be around 50, 60% maybe.
Okay.
And that would be more in the high school
Right.
time. Elementary age, it probably wasn't primarily Hispanic at that time.
Okay.
But over the years,
Right.
yeah. So for me, I've always, from the time I can remember, starting in elementary school, have always been around different groups of people.
Right.
And, you know, it's helped me, I think, be able to adapt into, you know, real world and a work environment, communicating with everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I never grew up in a diverse neighborhood. Did not have that. Everybody in my neighborhood was black. Next door, across the street, all black.
Yeah.
Which is great because it had a strong sense of community.
Yeah.
And I will also say that even in elementary school, I began to realize who I am. And when I say that, realize that I was black. Because you had some kids that were of other races that would let you know that you're black. You know, I've heard the N-word several times, and these were from guys that you thought were your friends.
Yeah. And we're not talking about with an A. We're talking about ER.
Yes, a hard ER.
A hard ER.
Hard ER. And the majority of the time that would come about whenever I would be in competition with them. And I win. And now all of a sudden, I'm okay. You know, we're okay when we're cool when we're on the exact same playing level. But, you know, that's just kind of early on, man. You begin to realize that, okay, you know, hey, man, I got to watch myself. These cats that pretend to be my friends are not. You know, and once again, that was during an area where desegregation was being put in place. So, you know, that was early on, which is why I am kind of the way I am about certain things. You know, I understand that not everybody's like that, you know, but still, you know, you have to have some sense of reserve
Yeah.
about people, individuals of all race, creeds, and colors.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah. And see, for me, I always have just been the type of person to give everybody the benefit of the doubt because I wasn't raised in that time.
right,
You know, so some of my trusted and best friends are from other races, and
Right.
at times I felt
Right.
they treated me better than my own family.
right, and yeah, and you know, I will say the exact same. You know, I have a little background in athletics. The very first gentleman that ever introduced me to athletics did so. His name was Mr. Dart. Mr. Dart in Tyler introduced me to football. He had a son named Steve that I hung out with in school. Steve was, man, cooler than a fan. Saw me at school doing PE and said, "Hey, man, would you like to play on our flag football team?" I was like, I don't know. My pop's not too cool about that.
Yeah.
So he says, "Why don't you stay after school today? See if you can stay after school today and practice with us." So I said, okay. I said, I maybe not be able to practice with you guys today, but let's try tomorrow. I'll see if I can just stay after school. I'll tell them I'm staying after school just to hang out with you. See if that's okay. So cool. Go. Mr. Dart is like, oh man, we need you on the team. So at that time, living in Tyler, Mr. Dart was he was white. That time, the only white man that came to your house was the insurance man. That time, that was it.
Yeah.
So
Y'all treated them like how people do, like Jehovah's Witness. They knocking on the door, you hide from it. You hide from the man.
no, the insurance man come because insurance. Everybody had insurance back then, and that's why I don't understand. That's a big change from now. Because back then, everybody had insurance, and you didn't get a lot of money from insurance, but you had enough money to, and granted, even as a child, I realized that, insurance man was always welcomed at the house back then. But anyway, Mr. Dart brought me home. He came into the house, sat down, and wanted to talk to my dad. Told my dad, Mr. Dart would like to talk to you. The entire time Mr. Dart was in the house, my dad was listening, but he was looking at me the entire time.
He upset.
Upset. The entire time. Like, why you got this man in my house?
Why you got this white man in my house?
And with that, my dad said, Mr. Dart, requested that, I become a member of his team. My dad clearly stated, I can't take him to practice. I can't pick him up for practice. I can't take him to games, and I'm not going to take him to games. Mr. Dart volunteered to do all of that.
Okay.
This man introduced me to football. I'd never played football before outside of Sandlot. Yeah. This man introduced me to flag football.
Yeah.
And football has been, how would I say, very, very good to me.
Right. And we'll get into that sooner or later.
Yeah.
Quick question, because we're talking about the dynamics of different generations. Here is it that some stranger came in your house. Your dad or your father said, hey, I can't do anything for him to do this. But he gave trust in this man to pick you up, take you, and take care of you while you're there with him.
Absolutely.
Was that strange?
Not necessarily. Not at the time. Times, I think, a little different now. You didn't have a lot of those situations where you had kids that were getting abducted. Not to say that didn't happen, it did, but it wasn't happening in abundance. Like it is now. And I say social media plays a major role with that too. And what I mean is that news and information getting out there to the masses like it wasn't necessarily before.
Right.
But my dad didn't know Mr. Dart prior to that, but he'd heard me speak of his son, Steve, or his sons, Steve and Greg. Heard me speak of them, and for him it wasn't that big of an issue. So if this man's willing to do all of this, well, let's see. And man, I made some great friendships and had a great time. Once again, learned a lot about the sport and camaraderie. But what I understood most is, first and foremost, man, you can't judge people by the color of their skin.
100%.
You cannot do that. You judge that individual by their character.
Right.
And this man, to me, man, I'm forever. He's since then passed away, but man, I am forever indebted to this man for introducing me to the sport and the sacrifices that he made for me. Now, some will say, well, he sacrificed because he saw you as an opportunity to help and assist him.
Yeah, it was a reward for him.
Right, it was a reward for him, but it went both ways.
But that reward, as a kid in elementary,
right?
What reward was he gonna get?
Right.
Winning some games?
Just, hey, we won.
Yeah.
Maybe so for some people. Hey, that may be here, but that may be top notch. Oh man, he helped us win some games, won this and that. But it gave me so much more than winning games.
Right.
So in all actuality, I think I benefited more than he did, and I think he made more sacrifices
than you did.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we're talking in a time
where they lived on a totally different side of town.
Right. The community probably shunned him for, hey, why is that kid in your car? Why are you allowing your kid to play with that kid? But a whole bunch of different.
Mr. Dart was that guy that he didn't care.
Yeah.
Right. And I once again, I am forever indebted to him.
Yeah. Here's a question for us. What is one thing you feel that your generation got right?
Whoopings and spankings.
You think that was a good
Oh, absolutely.
Well, explain.
Well, this is the deal. For me, everyone needs to know that there are consequences to your actions, right? Whether the action be good or bad, there are consequences, right? I think nowadays, kids believe that there aren't any consequences to their actions. You know, you've got kids out here nowadays, man, that are just, running wild. I heard of some deal. They got boys that they call, hey, that's shooters in their group of shooters. Dudes just shoot, right? Just go and just shoot up area. You're a shooter.
Yeah.
What happened when you?
What do you know about a shooter?
Anyway, and then what happens when you don't have a gun? What happens when you don't have a firearm? You know, back in my day, man, we should stand on business. Hey, fisticuffs.
Okay,
we fight,
King.
do it. I'm just saying, fisticuffs. We fight, and then you live to fight another day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may get embarrassed. You may get shunned because you got beat up.
Yeah.
But you may get heralded. Hey, man, I didn't know this dude had it in it.
I ain't know Tony had hands like that. Yeah.
But the deal was you live to fight another day. Now everybody's running to these guns and the whole nine, just shooting. Cats, man, I don't understand it. And they do this without thinking that there are any consequences or not considering the consequences. To me, when you put that belt to behind, before you make a decision or the next decision that you make, you're definitely going to consider those consequences. And I hate the fact that my dad used to whoop the crap out of me and my brothers. He did. But I understood that, hey, man, I need to act right.
So did you get whooped or would you say you got beat?
I got beat. It wasn't a whooping.
You got beat.
But every kid that gets a whooping think he's got beat.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, looking back at it now, would that be considered a whooping or would that be considered a beating?
In this day and time compared to back then.
I know the time frame, but
Right.
I'm saying in your perspective, was that a whooping or was that a beating?
I would say my dad used to beat us, man. But it was needed.
Yeah.
Man, you raising 3 boys. Man, you got to try to steer them cats right.
Yeah.
In order to do that, that's what it takes. And I've learned in raising my little man that, man, sometimes, man, it has to be hard, it has to be difficult, and they need to get it. You may not get it now, but you're going to get it.
Yeah. So, I don't want to imprison you on this statement. No, I'm just kidding. But did you whoop your son?
I did. This is the thing, and this is what I understood, too, about that, is that if you whoop them early, depending on the child now, if you whoop them early, later on, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Because they understand that, hey, I've heard my young man make this statement to his friends, say, hey, man, my pops don't play.
Yeah.
Hey, my pops don't play.
Yeah.
I've heard my daughter make that statement, too.
Yeah.
So they both understood, and I didn't have to whoop my kids a lot. Why? Once again, because I whooped them early.
Yeah.
So they can understand that, hey, man, there are consequences. These are things that you don't do. This is what you do.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. The whole 9. Mannerisms. Your manners matter.
Yeah.
It used to be, growing up with my mom and dad, it was this, and more so my dad. My dad would be like, if you leave this house, I send you over to someone else's house. If they don't call me and tell me how mannerable you were, then we got a problem. Then I'm under the impression that you weren't mannerable. Yeah. And you're going to get a whooping when you came home.
Yeah.
Man, you can best believe when I go to folks' house, I ask them, would you call my dad?
And let him know.
Man, I wasn't trying to get that belt. And my old man did not spare the belt.
Yeah.
Or, spare the rod, spoil the child. Him, man, that dude would wrap that belt around his hand. Oh, he swing that belt, you know. And
so you got hit with a belt?
Yeah, hit with a belt. But that was, growing up in my time, that was a soft way to go.
That's what I'm saying. But earlier you explained it as beatings.
But yeah, it was beatings.
I don't think getting whooped with a belt is a beating.
But let me tell you, these are my friends. I have friends that have been whooped with extension cords.
Yeah, that's
I
beating.
have friends that whooped with water hose.
Yep.
My dad didn't go that route.
See, that's what I would consider a beating.
Okay, let me tell you something. The beating depends on who's swinging it. Understand what I'm telling you?
Yeah.
It depends on who's swinging it.
Yeah.
My pops was cut up. My pops wasn't no joke. My pops had that belt, put it on you in a minute. And boy, hey, from that very first,
You felt that.
you felt it, boy. Stuff wasn't no joke.
You look like dang, what's his name on Glory? You weren't taking it like Denzel. When he was,
Denzel?
Yeah.
Nah,
You had that first swing, you already had that tear coming down.
It was coming. It was coming before my pops hit the door. Cause I know what it's gonna feel like.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Man, and this is the thing in my household. In my household, the deal was if one of us get a whooping,
We all getting it.
we all getting a whooping.
I wish we would have had that. If you're in this, we had an option growing up.
Oh,
My
did
dad
you?
gave us an option.
What was the
Unless
option?
he necessarily felt I don't have a choice but to whoop you guys,
Right.
then we would get a spanking. But our option was punishment or a spanking. But for me, just, I was like, man, I don't want to be on punishment. I can't go outside. I can't go hang out with my friends. Dad, go ahead and I'll take my spanking. To me, it was like, hey, it's going to be 5-10 minutes, get it over with. As he, I thought I told you, get the rhythm, get it on.
So at what age did he give you guys an option?
And
It was always?
I want to say as early as we stopped getting spanking at a certain age.
Well, I stopped getting spankings too.
I would say
high
it
school. Once I
starts-
get high school, I stopped getting spankings in high school. That's when he started saying, "Hey, this is what we'll do. I'm gonna take the keys. You can't drive the car, or you can't. Like he would have the keys, or I couldn't go outside. I couldn't talk on the phone.
That's a good question because my older brother's 4 years older. My younger brother's 2 years younger. So I want to say for me, it was probably middle school age was the last time I got a belt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I got disrespectful enough, Pops would slap me in the mouth or something like that, depending on, like now, I'm feeling myself as a teenager or something like that.
Right.
If I got too disrespectful, that was a threat then because now I know right from wrong. And now I'm more talking back and maybe being disrespectful. So too much disrespectful was probably, hey, grabbing me by my shirt or something like that. A little bit more chastising rather than a whooping.
Right.
So I would say elementary age is when we had the option up until maybe middle school because we wasn't bad kids. It would be arguing, fighting with one another. Talking back, maybe if we got so in our household we couldn't make 70s. So if I was on the verge of like a 78, 79 on the progress report, maybe I'm getting a spanking, or maybe we getting in punishment for outside doing something, just being kids. Hey, you want a spanking or you want to be on punishment? Me, go and get my licks and let me get back out there.
Right.
I know it was one time, I probably was like 7. My grandma used to smoke cigarettes. Everybody in the living room, I'm in the back room, she had a little ashtray. I get the cigarette playing with the cigarette, acting like I'm smoking. Insert, here come my dad into the room. That time, it wasn't no option. Straight butt whooping.
Right.
Because I knew what I was doing.
Right. Was the cigarette lit?
No, it wasn't. But why did I have the cigarette anyway? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that time, spanking. But it would be, if we all arguing or something like that, he'll make us, hey, you want to get a decision? You want a punishment or a spanking? My brothers, for the most part, they always took the punishment.
Right.
I'm taking my spanking. I'm going
Get
outside.
it over with.
Yep, get it over with. I'm back outside.
Right.
It hurt. You go and look in the mirror and cry.
Right.
Go take a shower or something to try to soothe your butt cheeks.
Right.
But, pause. We got to do the pause every time we say something questionable in this day and age.
You're right. You're right. And that's another thing, man. This society's so sensitive, man. Everybody's so sensitive. What's the deal with that?
That's just how it is. Yeah. But yeah, so for me to answer the question, what do I think my generation got right? I think parenting. I think we make much better parents.
Even with shooters? I don't think so.
But those, okay.
I don't think so. That's just my opinion.
With the kids who are considered shooters, would that be my generation? Or would that be your generation?
That would be your generation.
How old are we talking that these kids are that are
We
shooters?
talking about a lot of these kids, probably like, say, 15 to 20, 25, up in that age range. Those are kids that are younger than you.
Yeah, that's true. But that would be the children of my generation. Yeah,
Yes. Is this not your generation?
they mom and dad would be your generation, right?
No, their mom and dad would not be in my generation. The mom and dad may be in the middle between you and I.
Yeah, but that would still fall under me because I'll be a millennial.
Absolutely.
The shooters, no. But overall, yes. Y'all had shooters. Y'all had people. Y'all just wasn't putting a title and it wasn't on social media. That's crazy. But I'm saying, I think we make your kids, for example, I think they'll be much better parents because now they have a dynamic of understanding. They have an understanding of technology. They have more, I guess, middle ground. They can talk to their kids about their feelings, and I'm not trying to say too much into the feelings, but everything's not resulting to automatically getting a
Why
spanking
not?
and
Why
getting
aren't
a
you
whooping.
talking about so much in the feelings?
I'm not,
Because everybody in this day and time going to therapists. Everybody got
exactly.
therapy.
Okay, let's go. Let's talk about that.
That's crazy to me. I mean, that's just crazy to me because, growing up my time, say, hey, man, you just toughed it out, you deal with it. And I do understand that therapy is definitely helpful for a lot of people. And I'm speaking as an individual. It's not helpful for me.
Yeah.
That is not me.
But-
Because this is my deal. This is how I see therapy, right? I see therapy. I'm sitting up, I'm talking to you about all my problems and my issues, right?
Right.
Now, say this one therapist done seen 100 people. How much experience do you think this therapist has had with 100 different issues that these people are dealing with each and every day of various age groups from various generations?
Well,
Absolutely none.
yeah.
Absolutely none.
But
They just giving you a textbook answer to try to make you feel good.
But for some people, they just need an outlet. Everybody don't have an outlet to talk to people. And for me, that's why I don't think therapy works because I'm outgoing enough where I can lean to you about a little
Right.
bit of stuff, lean on
Right.
my wife, my dad, my friends.
We already
different
got
people.
therapists.
Right. So for me, I have an outlet to voice my
You know.
thing, but some people don't have that, and that's probably why they go to therapy.
Or some people have things that they don't want to discuss, that they want to keep secret, that they don't want to discuss with anyone else outside of someone who is who really doesn't have a stake in their life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
So it's different stroke for different folks. But I think, okay, for example, my kids, the counselor at the school go around and have these meetings with them, talking about their emotions, talking about their life and things like that. Where
I'm
no,
trying not to laugh.
this
I'm trying to
100%.
laugh, 'cause it's funny to me.
It is. It can be.
It's
but
funny to me.
for you, if your kids came to you and said, "Hey, my counselor came there," you would probably laugh at them. My dad would probably laugh at them.
No,
What you
I
say?
try not to laugh.
I know,
try
but
to
I'm
listen
saying-
to them. I don't want to laugh in their face.
Yes, but just naturally you may laugh about it. Like, well, what can they tell you about what I can't tell you? But what I'm saying is I think at least we'll be able to communicate with them in some way about it. I don't, by no means am I some therapist or professional at that. But I can at least have a conversation when they come in and they're talking to them about that and not making them feel
Uncomfortable.
about it.
But
or-
that's about your relationship with your child.
But that's what I'm saying. Overall, because my generation was probably coming up when therapy was like kind of getting the light it is, that now when our kids are going through that, it's a conversation we can have. Where in my family, for example, mental health, it was just, hey, that's just old crazy Billy over there.
Right.
He just crazy. Don't worry about him, but never putting a title to it.
Right.
Right? Not knowing how to communicate.
Right.
It was just Billy crazy. You know what I mean? Now I can at least, hey, talk to them about that. They do something at school, something happened, we can have a conversation about it. It's just not do as I say, when I say it, how I say it. Now it's let's have a conversation about it. But there is still times when the belt has to come out.
Yeah.
But I think we'll be able to communicate a little bit better rather than your generation?
Man,
Because my dad ain't going to do too much talking.
maybe this is the same. Maybe it's not. I'll give you a comparison. My daughter attended high school that's right across the street from the house. Right? When I say right across the street, maybe a block away. I would go and pick her up from track practice every day, right? Track practice was the last thing of the day. I'd go, pick her up. What do you think my question would be to her?
How was school?
My question to her was, hey, well, how was track practice? Because that was the last thing I
Thanks,
picked
you
her
did.
up from the day. Say, how was everything? How was track practice? So I guess she goes to my wife, and after a while of me doing this, she has an issue. And my wife, confronted me about it. Well, honey, I know when you pick Helen up, you ask her, how was track practice? She goes, she would prefer that you ask her, how was her day? I said, I prefer that I don't ask her nothing.
Exactly.
I said, and I don't even have to pick her up from school. School's a block away. She can walk home. Would you prefer that? She goes, honey, you just got to
Extra.
understand that, hey, these kids these days. I'm like, man,
Yep.
this is crazy to me.
Yep.
This is crazy to me.
I'm surprised she didn't call you sassy.
She goes, yeah, you got me sassy. That'd be another issue there. Sassy. I don't understand where they get these terms from, man. Because you call a cat sassy back in the day, man, those fighting words, man. You call me a punk? I'm fighting words.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, that just goes to show, man. Are you serious? Is it really that big of a deal?
And it's not. But to them, it might be. And where if my kid came home and said, go to my wife, my dad wouldn't, I'd rather him say, hey, how about your day? Hey, son, when I say that, that's just to start a conversation. That's all I'm trying to do is just talk to you about your day, see how everything's going. That's all it is. It's not so much about that. I would have tried to explain a little bit more so they can understand.
Right.
Rather than saying, hey, well, if they don't like it, they can walk home. I don't have to say anything. And that's what I mean about the difference of the generation. Where if I would say it, I could only imagine what my boss, ain't no telling what that goofy man would have said if I would have said, hey, Dad, why don't you? I couldn't even imagine saying it either. But
now this is the deal. This is coming from my daughter, right? If it's coming from my little man, how do you think I would have reacted?
you would have told him, man, you better get out your feelings.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But since it's my daughter, man, I had to be a little softer. Not that I wanted to, but I was like, man, this is a joke.
And I think that's where the switch happened for you guys is once you have that daughter. And I think it is a difference. I'm not one that's in the new generation to say that I don't believe in double standards because I think it is.
Right.
I'm not going to raise my daughter the same way I do my sons.
Right.
I just don't think that works for me.
Right.
Or for them.
Right. I agree.
Because no matter what, the world isn't going to see her the same as, as her brothers.
Right.
Right. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be tough on her or raise her to be tough and independent.
Right.
But
there are going to be some differences.
There's going to be some differences.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And we're talking about fatherhood. Talk about some of the challenges of being a father.
I said, man, being a father, at times you got to be comfortable with being the villain. I don't know if anybody out there gets that or not, but let me explain. There are going to be times when you are the leader and the head of your household. There's going to be decisions that you're going to make that's not going to be popular. For example, when your kid wants to go to one school that that's not going to highlight them, and you make the decision that they need to go to another school because you can see something that they can't see. And it's not just your child, it's your wife as well. And what I realized, at least in my household, I can't speak for every household, but until they see results, it's a problem. It's a problem. Like I moved my son from public school to private school. My wife was highly upset, and we did this. He had went to private school in the elementary age. Then he went back to public school, middle school, and then high school. I just saw that there were some issues that my son, being used to being in private school, there are some issues that he faced in public school that I know was not for his benefit. So I decided to move him back to private school. Sat down and discussed it with my wife. My wife was like, absolutely not. It costs so and so and so and so to move him. I said, I get that. I said, well, honey, I'm not asking you to pay for it. Not once did I ask you to pay for it. She goes, well, I am not in favor of this. I said, that's fine. I said, well, I'm basically informing you that he's going to go to private school. She was upset. She didn't like it. My son initially didn't like it, but I knew this was for his benefit, both academically and athletically. Got into the school, overheard my wife on the phone with one of her friends. His second year in the school, my wife goes, oh, girl, moving him to this high school, girls, was the best decision we ever made. I'm like, oh, we speaking French now. No, it's no we. But my thing is this, is once again, there are decisions that you have to make as a father that's not going to always be popular. But those decisions must be made. Yeah. And my thing is, I would tell my wife all the time, say, hey, you married me to be a leader, not a follower. So my thing is, let me lead. If you don't allow me to lead, then one, how am I going to live up to the expectations that God has placed on me as the head of this household? So let me lead. And secondly, if you don't want me to lead, then why you marry me?
Right.
So, that's just one example. But, I've made decisions and, my kids weren't happy about it initially. But then at the end of the day, everything came out and it worked out well, and it worked out for their benefit. It didn't always work out for mine, because believe me, paying $25,000 to $30,000 for private school, man, that's college tuition.
Right. And I would say that's also a blessing, because that you guys are able. That's, something that a lot of people can't even afford to do.
Right. Absolutely.
I would love to put my kids in private school, but we'll be on a tight budget.
Right. And not to say that I wasn't, but I saw the benefit.
Right.
And this is something that my son needed.
Right.
I was banking on the aspect that, and granted, anything's a gamble. I was basically under the impression that, hey, my son is going to end up getting a scholarship, whether it's academic or athletic, and he's going to be better for it. We're going to be better for it. So I'm going to pay for his college education up front.
Rather than later. 100%. I would say some of the challenges I face as a father would be time. And just feeling like there's a rope that's pulling me one way and another way, and I'm just like a puppet, just going from place to place, here to there. With having, my parents are divorced, so like holidays, going here to there. I got 3 kids, so taking them to practice, to games, taking the other one to their events, trying to work and be able to provide for the family. So I'm working anywhere from 50 to 60 hours a week, but also coaching and assisting coaching their sports, making sure I'm present as a father. Then on top of that, being present as a husband, being present as a brother, as a son. And it's only 24 hours in a day.
Yep, I get that.
That's probably my biggest challenge, and that's as a father, as a husband, or just as a human being in general, is just not feeling like I have enough time to juggle everything that I have to do in my day-to-day life.
But I got to say this. This is what I see you doing. And you do the exact same thing that I've done, when my kids were young. You find a way to make time.
Yeah.
We do. I mean, granted, it's only 24 hours in a day. You're absolutely correct. Yeah. But you know what? There are times, man, when I should be resting to get ready to start the next job.
Yeah.
When I'd go out here, I'd head their track team, just like I see you coaching. Mm-hmm. I would coach. Why? So I'd have that opportunity to spend time with them. Mm-hmm. And believe that, man, that's major. Because a lot of kids don't get that.
Yeah.
So the more time you spend with your kids, granted, even though your time is limited, man, any time is better than no time at all.
No. Yep, 100%. And Me and my boy, we talk about that all the time, and me and you talk about that. Is being a present father is everything to me.
Yeah.
I can, in my career choice, I do have the ability to make more money, but with more money comes more time.
Absolutely.
And I'm not willing to sacrifice time away from my family.
Right.
Right. So I'm comfortable enough and where I am, but I'd rather live the lifestyle I have now, knowing that I've been present and I haven't missed anything.
Yeah.
Because that'll bring me tears to my eyes anytime if I knew that I couldn't make it to one of my kids' games or sometimes even their practices.
Right.
Where some people think, it's just practice. But to me, it's a big deal. I'm missing out on my kids.
Right. And it's funny you bring that up. My household, man, I can't really tell you how many games, my dad would make. My mom would do her best to make them, but still, back then, man, you had to work. They wasn't taking off work to come to no games.
Yeah.
So, my mom would make it to all my high school football games. The only time I would know my dad has made it to one of my games is after a game, I come home, go to bed. He'll come in the room, say, hey, yeah, I saw you miss that tackle, or I saw you miss that opportunity for that interception. That was his way of telling me, hey, I went to your game.
By saying something negative, what you did to.
But that was my pops, and I knew that's how it was.
Yeah.
So in a sense, did I feel bad because he came in my room and said something negative? No, because I know my dad. That was my dad's way of saying, hey, I went to your game today.
Yeah.
And I took that. I took what I could get.
Yeah.
And that's what he gave me, so that's what I took.
Yeah. See, I think, so I started playing sports at 5 all the way through high school. My dad probably missed, I'm going to say just less than 5 games that I can think of.
Right.
He might have been late, leaving work early so he can be there.
Right.
But I don't recall my dad just absolutely missing out. And that goes from my mom, my grandpa, my stepmom, my stepdad, my brothers and sisters. They're looking at the dynamic, man. I had probably one of the most support systems than other kids on my team because, with my parents being divorced, they still showed up for us, you know what I mean? So it'll be my parents, my grandparents. So we always had people there. But as fathers is what we're talking about. So mama, when you see this, don't get in your feelings or think anything, but we're talking as fathers. But that was something that, because I was raised in my dad's household, and he made sure that we knew in the sacrifice that he had to take to do that.
Right.
And it wasn't in a way of trying to say, hey, I didn't go to work today, or hey, I'd take off to make sure I met your game.
Right.
It was like, hey, I'm gonna be there. I may have to take off, but I'm gonna be there.
Right.
It was always him doing his best to try to make it to our events.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, my dad didn't coach. He coached from the stands and got ejected a lot. But he was there.
Right. And I tell you what I like about your dad too is I like the relationship you have with your dad, because you talk to your dad just about every day. And man, I wish I had that relationship with my father. I did not. When I left home to go to college, all I heard prior to that was, hey, I can't wait till you turn 18, because once you turn 18, you got to get up out of here.
Get up out of here. Yeah.
So I got out. I went to college. When I did come home, I checked on my mom. Now I called my mom, talked to my mom on a regular basis. My pops, once I got off to school, he called me and he wouldn't call me to say, hey, how you doing? How's your day? How's everything going? He called me oh, you don't know how to come home? Oh, you don't know how to come home? That's his way of saying, hey, I miss you. Won't you come home?
Yeah. We had challenges like that.
But my deal was, you told me you couldn't wait till I turned 18, so I was under the impression you was ready for me to get out the house. So once I got out and was able to forage for myself, then you didn't want me come
home. I think that's
Yeah.
just probably the difference in cultures is we're kind of raised, and I'm not raising my kids. I don't think you raised your kids that way. That 18, you grown, get up out the house.
No.
But I think culturally, that's kind of just how it's been. Because for me, it was kind of say, hey, 18, what you gonna do? What you gonna figure it out? Without saying get out. But I felt pressure at 18
Right.
that it's time for me to get up out of here. And maybe that was me internally, like, hey, I need to get up out of here. I left at like 21, I think, is when I moved out. But me and my dad had an argument. I was 17, 18, and he basically kicked me out. And I went to my mom. So I called myself being bad at my old man. Like, man, this dude kicked me out. I ain't talking to him. I ain't calling him. It's probably 2-3 days.
Right.
But it's to go back to what you're saying about us talking every day. We're used to talking every day. So I'm going 2-3 days, man, forgetting. I'm telling my grandpa, man, he kicked me out. I ain't talking to that dude. Man, call your dad. Call your dad. Man, I ain't calling him. So he called me. Hey, you ain't gonna call me? You ain't gonna call me? I said, Dad, I'm mad at you. You kicked me out. Man, I don't give a dang what I do. You better pick up the phone and call me. And he said, you know what? Pack your stuff and come back home. I said, Dad, with all due respect, I ain't coming back home.
Right.
But that was my way of telling him,
Right.
I'm gonna figure it out and I'm gonna be all right.
Right.
And then once I got older,
Right.
now where have my own family, and I always say, hey, I remember you saying all the time, 2 kings can't stay in the house.
Right.
So hey, I'm a king. We both can't be in the same house.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And 2, just a different perspective is I know we as young men on the receiving end, we feel the pressure, right? At 18, 17, whatever, because I graduated high school at 17. We feel the pressure. But on the flip side of that, it's promoting independence.
Right.
But we don't see that at that age.
No.
We don't see that at that age. And a lot of times too, it's how it's presented.
Yeah.
And that's why with my kids, I present it totally different. It's not, hey, you're 18, you got to get up out of here. No. I said, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why, I've helped you choose this school. This is why I think this school is a great school for you, because it's going to help you in your future. In a sense, I'm saying, hey, I want you to be able to be on your own so you can have your own. But the decisions that we're making now are going to move you towards that way, opposed to saying, hey, man, you're 18, it's time for you to go. The messaging is different. Is it the exact same message? Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just how it's being presented.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. And I always tell him, that's one thing, when he get on this soapbox, now that y'all are getting older, man, I don't know what it is about black men when they get older. Now, all of a sudden, y'all wanted to be so tough all these years. And now, in your 50s and 60s, now you get all emotional.
What are you talking about? All emotional? Example.
Crying. Emotional.
Crying about what?
Getting in your feelings.
About what?
Your family, your kids, your family, just getting older. And don't you sit here and try to act like you all tough, because I didn't see you too.
What you see me cry? Cry about what?
Your kids.
Oh, my kids is totally different now.
That's what I'm talking about.
Kids.
Kids, your wife.
When you see me cry about my wife?
All the time.
You lying. Stop lying. This dude here.
Oh, my wife did this. Oh, she did that. Just cried.
That's not crying. When you're talking about crying,
No, I'm talking about
literally
physically
tears.
crying.
I'm talking about literally tears.
Okay, but I'm joking about your wife.
That's
your kids. I have seen you cry about.
When you see me cry about
your
my
kids?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's out of happiness, and what's another word I'm looking for? Out of joy, seeing them in their success.
Joy, jubilation.
Yeah, all of that. I've seen you, maybe not physically, your tears just running down your eye, but a tear maybe, you getting watery, your eyes getting a little watery. I've definitely seen that.
Okay, when my kids accomplish something?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Proud, because...
Or, especially when they coming back into town. Oh, I gotta leave. I gotta go. They coming into town. You get excited. You get
absolutely.
emotional. Where
Absolutely.
I don't think early on you would probably be as emotional as you are. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, early on about my kids?
Yes. I don't know. I know my dad, Well, at least how I looked at him. When we was kids, I was like, man, this dude, I seen him as the Incredible Hulk.
But that's in your presence.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors, I can guarantee you. It's
Oh,
different.
yeah.
You
Now-
know, and the same thing. You know, but this is the thing though. What we did behind closed doors, now that you're older, now that we're older, we do that in your presence.
Exactly. And that's
Right.
what I said. But
Yeah, so-
as the kid, it's sometimes like, oh my God, why are you getting so emotional about nothing now?
Yeah.
But it comes with age, I
Yeah.
imagine.
I guess. I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
Yeah. So I'll tell them all the time, you know, hey, even in your mistakes that you feel that you made, you know, it was perfect for me to help be the man that I am today. And let's pivot a little bit. What's a lesson that you feel that you learned from your dad?
How to be independent,
How to be independent?
how not to depend on anyone but yourself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's going to come down to you.
Yeah.
My dad gave me that. My mom gave me God. Now, I grew up originally as Jehovah's Witness. And
Was y'all going door to door, knocking on people's doors?
Oh,
and all
yes,
that?
absolutely.
So all Jehovah's
It's called
Witnesses,
field service.
as a Jehovah Witness, everybody has to do that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
You know, you don't have to. It don't like they put a gun to your head and say, hey, you got to go door to door. Sell that watchtower. You better sell that watchtower. No.
But that was part of
It was
the
just part
ministry.
of it. Yeah, being in the ministry, Jehovah's Witness. And I will say this. Becoming a Jehovah's Witness, especially for the basis of biblical knowledge, man, I knew that Bible in and out. I still do, you know. And once I got to college, I ended up becoming a Christian because I saw some things in the church that I wasn't in agreement with. My mom and dad divorced as well. I love my dad, but my dad was very abusive to my mom, and my mom had to go to the elders of the church to ask or request for a divorce. Why you gotta go to them and ask for a divorce? They don't live in the house with you. And I had a problem with that. And there are many times that, you know, that prior to her getting divorced, man, they wouldn't grant her the opportunity to file for a divorce. Granted, I would want my mom and dad to divorce.
But
Period.
in a way,
But-
she needed to get out.
Yeah,
Because especially
well,
if we
at
talk,
the end of the day, it was my mom's choice. It wasn't someone's choice who didn't live in my household to
Right.
make that decision.
Right.
That was her decision to
Right.
make. You know, and
But-
that's what I had issue with.
well,
And that's
In
just
the-
one issue.
yeah, in that time frame, because now all you do is pay a couple $100 and you probably can get a divorce nowadays, right? Anybody can get a divorce. Was it more because of the religion being able to exit out of that marriage, or was it just due to the times? If you know, you don't know, I don't know.
You know, my mom had stated to me before, said, hey, you know, I got 3 boys. You know, I can't raise you guys by myself, right? Now, that was at a time prior to her going to them and asking them, hey, can she divorce my dad, right? So I understand that that was a big issue with her, hey, raising 3 boys. So she stuck it out, right? Until we were old enough to be out, you know, kind of do things on our own. My baby brother was still in school, high school at the time. And, you know, my mom went ahead and, you know, went to the church and asked them for a divorce, and they didn't grant it. And, you know, then later she went ahead and, you know, after certain issues happened, I can't guarantee that they did grant her this, but she ended up filing for divorce later after, you know, other things happened.
But as a young adult or as a young child, you just seen it as the church. She couldn't leave based off the church.
Right. And once again, that was just one issue.
Yeah.
And
And we don't have to,
we're not going to that.
yeah.
Okay.
because I don't want to get too heavy in religion.
Okay, that's
right
fine.
Right now.
Right now,
Yeah.
not today. That's
Yeah,
not the
not
segment
today.
of the day.
Yeah,
We're just
no.
doing the introduction
Yeah,
today.
we're just doing an
Okay, I
introduction.
stay on track.
Yeah, because you know you like to pivot and then you'll
I
go
will
on a
do that.
tangent, and we'll be talking
I
about
will do that.
everything in one episode about your whole life
I will do that. That's the purpose. That's why you're here.
to put a stop to it. So I would say just family, fatherhood would be the lessons that I learned from my dad. I don't think my dad made any mistakes as a father.
Right.
Now, as a man, I would say, yeah, he made a lot of mistakes, but as far as raising us, I can't think of too many mistakes he made for me. My brothers and my sisters may say otherwise. You know,
Right.
he took us where we could have been in a whole different environment. Um, you know, maybe living in the projects, living in an area that maybe wouldn't have been the best for us. Not to say that the area we wouldn't have been the same people, but statistics will show we probably wouldn't be where
Right.
we are now
Right.
based off of the environment.
Right.
So moving us away from that, bringing us to the suburbs, raising us there. Um, you know, my dad was a hustler, man, and it'd be times where my old man, if he lost a job, my dad done threw newspapers, my dad done sold hats,
Right.
then sold clothes, and did whatever he could to provide for, you know,
Hustler.
us as his kids and as
Right.
his family. So just the dynamic of fatherhood and being a family man, um, that's what I think I got from my dad. So me being present the way I am is what I seen
Right.
from him. Um, what kind of father did you need growing up? Did you feel that your dad provided everything you needed in your situations and to make you the man you are today?
That's a good question. I don't think he provided everything, in a sense. And in a sense, he did. And let me tell you the reason why I say that. Let me qualify that. Is that there were things that my dad did great, and there are things that he didn't do so great. I wasn't really sure on how to be a good father, but I looked at some of the things that my dad did was negative, and I chose not to do those things. Right? So, in a sense, he gave me everything I needed without necessarily giving me everything that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just looked at the good things that he did and pulled those out. I looked at the bad things that he did and I decided I wasn't going to do those things.
Do the opposite.
Right. So I was going to utilize those things to shape me to be the father as well as a husband that I am today, and the Christian. Because I don't ever remember my dad going to church. I ain't never seen my dad go to church, you know. But he'd go to the club. He didn't miss going to the club. Well, I give him that, you know. And man, once again, that's a totally different dynamic. Because back then, in the 60s and 70s, man, my parents, they used to go to them clubs, especially them pops.
Really?
They used to go to the clubs. That was it, the clubs. Clubs is, I don't think, is not what it used to be.
And see, I don't think my generation would look at my grandparents was in the clubs.
Yeah, they
Now, my grandpa, I can see it. Maybe my grandma, my dad's mom, I
Right.
could probably see it.
Right.
But I don't see my mom's mom in the club
Right.
or some of my other grandparents,
Right.
you know, aunts and uncles in the club. Because, you know, now they all been saved and all they do is talk
But
about
before they like color purple, they went to juke joint. Then all of a sudden they got saved. Now they got rid of the juke joint. You know?
Everything about the Lord and this and that. What kind of father did I need growing up? Man, I hate to keep making my dad seem like he was, maybe for me, and I know my brothers would say otherwise, but for me, man, the only thing I would say I think he lacked, my dad kind of was like Denzel sometimes in Fences. He would just come home angry. Outside of just being angry and now talking to him, because we like friends at this point, our dynamic now, you talk every day, I see that it wasn't the house he was angry with. I think he was upset with himself.
Right.
With a lot of things. So coming home, I think he was expressing himself to us, but just upset at himself, but kind of taking it out on us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
But even then, I felt like he would realize he would do stuff like that. Then that's when he would come in and let's have a lesson. Hey,
Right.
I want y'all to be completely opposite than me. You know, the wrong that y'all see dad doing, don't do this. You know, do different. Be better. And I think that, and I get it, because as parents, I don't think any of us truly know what we're doing. We're just doing the best that we can.
Right.
We're taking, like you said, a little bit of the good, a little bit of the bad from our parents and pouring it into our kids.
Right.
Right? To make them better than what we are.
And I think it's all a gamble.
Right.
We don't know.
We don't know
how it's going to turn out.
Right.
But we hope and pray that it does.
Right. And sometimes talking to younger kids, I let them know that your parents don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to figure it out. So don't blame them for it. But at the same time, hey, them kids didn't ask to be here.
Right.
So I get both sides of it.
Right.
And I think that's just my personality anyways, though. It's just kind of like, hey, it is what it is. I'm going to make the best of it regardless, and I'm going to be okay.
You know, and that's me, because I was the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom and dad didn't have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they never raised a kid before.
Mm-hmm.
So I always consider myself as the experimental child.
Yeah.
You know, so there were a lot of things that were difficult for me. I ran away from home several times. You know, and these were all as I was older. The difference is, when I was in Florida, you know, I would always have my grandmother's house I could run to. You know, if a situation occurred at home, I could always go there. But once we got to Texas, man, you know, there were changes. I couldn't do that. You know, where was I going to run to?
Right.
You know, I didn't have that. And, you know, I just know that, once again, you know, as being the oldest, man, I was the experimental child. Yeah. And they were experimenting. They didn't know.
Yeah.
They were trying to figure it out, just like you stated. So.
Yeah. And for me, I was the oldest as well. And I know for sure my sisters didn't have to see half of the stuff that me and my brothers did. And even then, I think my younger brother was just young, that he don't remember some of the stuff.
Right.
But, you know, I tell him all the time, it shaped me to be the man I am today. Because now, hey, even the wrong, I know I don't want to be involved in that. So, and I'm just appreciative of it, because I got life.
Yeah.
You know, and I pour it into my kids and my wife.
Yeah, amen.
So, we talked a lot about fatherhood today. When your story is told years from now, what do you hope people say about the man you were?
That I was a fair man, that I was a Christian, that I was a man of great character, that I was a man of education, I was a man who was articulate, but most of all, I want to be remembered as a man who truly loved his family and friends. That's it. How about you?
I don't know. That's a hard question. What would I want people to say about the man I was? He loved his wife and he loved his kids, and he'll give his life for them.
Okay.
Simple as that. He did what he can for them. And I hope I have a lot of people that could speak to that's seen me do that, from friends, from families, co-workers, just anybody that know. Because my kids may not see or hear how much I talk about them.
Right.
My wife may not see or hear how much I talk about them, you know, because they're just used to me at home, you know, being dad, being husband, not seeing when I leave that door how much, or what you said earlier, how you stand on business, how I stand on business for my family, you know, and that's what I want people to be able to say, is that I was a family man. I put them first. To close off, what would you want your children or your wife in the community to remember about you? Let's just keep it with your children and your wife.
That I love them, and that I've sacrificed everything I possibly could in order for them to be successful. That's it.
I'll second that. That's it, that I love them. Man, I think this was a great first episode. A little deeper than probably intended. And it won't always be like this.
It won't
man.
always be like this.
As we
It's-
come up with
yeah.
different things and things
Yeah.
go on in the world, it'll be fluid to what's going on in the world and what's going on in our lives. But I think this was a great intro. People get to have a little insight
Yeah.
about
About
who we are, a little bit about
What's
our
important to
background.
us.
Yep.
So when we do have these discussions in the episodes, you guys will understand why we have the viewpoints that we do.
Right. 100%.
So I think this is important that
Yep.
we had this.
Cool.
Cool.
What'd you think?
I think great.
All right, man. We out.
We out.
Tune in next time.